With the spooky, scary Halloween season upon us once again, I thought I'd take the time to talk about one of my favorite video game franchises, Luigi's Mansion. Specifically Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, which, despite being a great game that's entirely worth playing, I just find it to be the weakest link in the 3 games in the series. My hang-up entirely stems from how the game is mission-based instead of operating on an open exploration paradigm. But my complaints are not why I'm here talking about this title. It's about how one of the biggest reasons I enjoy this game, and its contemporaries, is because of how it's not actually a horror game. No, Luigi's Mansion is more horror-adjacent. It's like a scary movie made for kids, something meant to unnerve 5-year-olds, and it'll probably make them feel uncomfortable or scared for a few fleeting moments, but when seen by an adult, the entire experience is tame, charming, and whimsical even. Fundamentally, this game and the franchise is more adventure than horror, more puzzle than spook, and more combat than jump scare. This is actually a major reason I love the games so much, and there's something to be said about the overall horror setting as a location in contrast to the feeling of being in the middle of an actual horror scenario. Haunted mansions are a classic setting, and having the opportunity to enjoy how intricate and detailed they are without running for your life is something I find immensely satisfying. The disused state of things, rooms piled high with old junk, some of which is just straight-up antiques. There's an otherworldly nature to a good classic haunted house. Everything is familiar in some way, but removed from modern life, ranging from old technology like rotary phones to defunct architectural designs no longer needed, such as fireplaces being in just about every single room. Moreover, haunted houses as a setting in fictional media have the privilege to do something that you would normally never see in just about any typical house. I'm talking about bookshelves that hide secret passages, rooms dedicated to the most obscure and exotic of topics, leftover tunnels in the basement, buried treasure in the backyard. You name it, a haunted house can have it. This is mostly because while a fully mundane home can indeed be the setting for some amazing horror and all the tension and dread it brings, haunted houses frequently aren't just homes, but mansions abandoned specifically because they're haunted. All mansions are houses, but not all houses are mansions. A common theme of homes this big is opulence, and also, depending on your outlook on money, how to waste as much of it as possible. After all, when you have such a large personal space built for just a few people, it smacks of indulgence. This means that mansions, especially those of the haunted variety, can do all of these absolutely outlandish things with their square footage. And the best part is, hardly anyone will ask why any room or object exists, no matter how strangely specific or useless it is. Why does this house have an entire room with a fake Egyptian tomb in it containing potentially very real artifacts? Well, because it's a mansion. It doesn't stop there either, because the haunted modifier lets that hand wave attitude stretch much farther. One of my personal favorites is when a haunted house is actually bigger inside than it is outside. You can explain away all sorts of things with the generic excuse of, well, a rich person paid to have this done. But defying the laws of physical space? Only the supernatural can make that possible, and a house being haunted absolutely checks that box. So, here you are inside of an old spooky mansion with the lights out, strange noises coming from the dark corners of the room you're in, and while you could turn around and leave, that won't help you advance the game any further. So what do you have to do? Start inspecting the room, open drawers, pop the lid on chests, roll back the carpet. Eventually, you'll find those murmuring ghosts and be forced to teach them that the modified vacuum you're carrying is indeed a weapon against the paranormal. This entire process meshes so well with what I love about haunted houses. The notion that inspecting the environment is not only expected of you, but rewarded. Being situationally aware what is in each room, because it might not just hold a ghost, but also hold money, lets you take your time to soak in the environment. And as I've already said, I love the aesthetic of a good haunted house. Thus, you go room to room trying to complete tasks and sucking up ghosts along the way, turning on the lights where your custodial duties are completed. Sure, if you're in a rush, you're not going to pay too much attention to the design and detail of each room, but even if you're glossing over it all, those granular aspects are still there. And this is another wonderful feature of Luigi's Mansion 2 HD that I love. Before long, objects go invisible, and you can force them to reappear in the course of hunting classic Mario boos. These shy apparitions have a long history in the Mario universe, and they've always kind of annoyed me in the platforming games. But here, they're given the room to be just a bit more than an enemy, which stops moving when you look at them. Boo hunting, throughout all of the Luigi's Mansion games, has always been a particular favorite for me, because it's an excuse to comfortably re-examine areas I've already been through for no reason other than to complete an extra activity. In this game specifically, it takes on a more spot the difference type of experience, because you have to look at rooms you've already been through and try to pick out if any objects have gone missing, which you have to make reappear. That's obviously not something that will be particularly fun for everyone, but for me, it leans in heavier on the whole experience of soaking in the environment. The entire unique, crazy haunted house setting is really the backbone that elevates the game franchise to what it is for me. And I keep coming back for that reason alone, despite how I always have hang-ups on the gameplay in some form. That's also an important detail about what makes me love certain games: their flaws. I firmly believe that the games and franchises I come to love are more or less in balance between their good and bad design choices. That is to say, when I truly love a game, it's usually when there's some small percentage of it that's been designed in an annoying or suboptimal way, but is more than adequately balanced out somehow. For instance, in Luigi's Mansion 2, and the entire Luigi's Mansion franchise, I find the boss battles to be the weakest part of the games. This, in part, means I enjoy the first game the most since it has the least boss battles, but the latter games are also chock full of more unique rooms and haunted floors to explore. Thus, I don't complain too much as I battle more bosses, because it's in exchange for the additional square footage in which to find hidden boos, money, and collectibles. Again, it's a balance, and I really do think that Luigi's Mansion has found the more or less sweet spot between fun and frustration. So, why did I make this video? Well, mostly because I really like Luigi's Mansion, and the HD version of the second entry here is no exception, despite it being my least favorite. I really do think this is a great game to pick up and enjoy, especially for the Halloween season. It gives you all the feelings of being in a spooky horror setting without any of the big, legitimate scares. And like I've said, that haunted house setting? It just can't be beat. Anyway, thanks for watching. You can see on the screen now the wonderful supporters who help me stay alive by donating to me monthly. After all, it takes a lot of frozen burritos to not starve to death. If you want to support me as well, go ahead and check the description for a link, and like always, leaving a comment helps too. Oh, and if you want to see more of me still, I stream on both Twitch and a separate YouTube channel. Links for those below as well. Until next time though, I'm William Strife, and I'll see you later.